After the recent changes in PT academic test, everyone is scared. And one of the point of contention is Retell Lecture still the same? Can we still use any sort of template? Is human check going to be big difference, or is it going to create big issues? Is the marking criteria remaining same, or what is really changing in here? So in today's video, we will answer all these questions and more. We will look at what has changed, what has remained the same, and most importantly, what you should do to secure maximum score in PT Retell Lecture. Hi everyone, this is Rashid and I'm from 𝐴𝐶 Language, and in today's video we will talk about Retell Lecture, one of the most important question types in PT speaking module. This is the fourth question type in PT speaking, and remember, score from Retell Lecture contributes to both speaking and listening. This part hasn't changed at all. That means it used to contribute in both speaking and listening and is still doing the same. So what has really changed is question numbers, that is number of questions you get, and the scoring weightage. Before we move on, please subscribe to our channel if you already have not done so. If you have done so, thank you. Please click on the bell icon to be the first one to be notified when we upload a new content. Now, let's focus on what has changed. Previously, each test taker used to get 1 to 2 questions. Now, they will get 2 to 3 questions. Score contribution has also changed. Previously, Pearson never really disclosed how much a score used to be contributed from this question type towards your speaking and listening, but Pearson has now specified that each test taker will get 12.5% of their speaking score from this question type and 13.3% of their listening score from this question type. And you already know from last year November, human double check has been introduced to check on the content of Retell Lecture, not the fluency and pronunciation, mind you, only content. And in the new test from 7th of August, content now has more importance. Previously, content, fluency and pronunciation, each marking criterion used to have 5 points each. But now, content has 6 points. Fluency and pronunciation remain the same. Now let's talk about the task itself. In this task, each test taker will get a lecture that can be an audio lecture or a video lecture of length between 60 to 90 seconds. Once the lecture is done, they will get 10 seconds to prepare, and then they will have to deliver a lecture of 40 seconds. In this lecture, they need to ensure that they take the content from the question itself, that is, they do not deliver anything that they think is right. Rather, they deliver everything from the question. They do not use any fixed template. If you happen to be found using any fixed template, you will get a direct 0 in content, and if you get a direct 0 in content, your final score is 0 out of 16. Your delivery needs to be smooth with nice fluency. That means you need to avoid mumbling and hesitation, and your pronunciation needs to be as clean as possible. Mind you, your pronunciation does not mean your accent. It means the clarity of your vowels and consonants, and also when you are speaking in a connected way and have good stress and intonation. To secure the maximum score, we recommend that students speak for about 30 to 35 seconds. We recommend not to talk for less than 30 seconds because that means you have not covered enough content, and we do not recommend you to start a new sentence after 35 seconds because that means you may not be able to finish answering the question within the given time. If you are wondering how can you secure maximum score in Retell Lecture, you will need to follow 3 simple steps. Step number 1, that you take note. When you take note, make sure you take note in an abbreviated way. You can see that on the screen now that instead of writing etc. in full, you can write etc. etc. Or instead of people, PEOPLE, you can simply say PPL. Or Instead of saying CHANGE, change, you can simply say CHNG. Or instead of saying rise or increase, you can just use an arrow, upward arrow. These are the symbols and shortcut ways of writing things that you should practice at home, so that when the recording is playing, you can take proper notes. Remember, your success in PT Retell Lecture depends on taking proper notes. You will hear a longer lecture and you won't be able to remember everything. Only way you can deliver a perfect Retell Lecture by yourself is going to be dependent on how good your note taking was. Another important thing when you are taking note is that you take note of in a group. In each group, make sure that you have 3 words to 4 words at least, because when you are delivering your lecture, you need to be able to make meaningful sentences from the notes you have taken. So if your note taking is not right, you will suffer. So I always recommend my students to take notes of 3 words in a row that will make one group. And in this way, I recommend taking 5 to 7 groups of words, that is between 15 to 21 keywords from the question. Remember, you will not write them in full, you will just write them in short possible way that you can understand. Another thing is, when you are actually writing down your notes, don't worry about listening what has been playing. Because see, you can't take note of everything. If you worry about what's playing right now, you will not be able to write down the notes you are planning to write down. Another important factor here is to remember that there is nothing called important information or unimportant information. You just have to take notes of what you hear and what you understand. Remember, whatever you write note of and whatever you repeat is going to be the important information, is going to be your answer, regardless of whether they are actually important or not. Don't worry about them being important. You are using it means they are important. And another important factor is you write them into separate lines. It's better that way. It's not that a mandatory thing, but I find it much easier to formulate my answer when I have a note that is separated by each line. So that's our step number 1. Step number 1 is we take note. Step number 2 is we practice at home, especially making sentences, full meaningful sentences when we take note. For example, if I write PPL, an arrow, and 40%, that means I meant or I heard population increased by 40%. So if I have to use that, making a full sentence, I will say the population in, let's say, Sydney, the population in Sydney has risen by 40%. This means I have taken notes of my ideas that I think is important in short, abbreviated way, but I'm delivering a fully meaningful sentence. While doing that, don't worry about grammar or vocabulary. Remember, grammar and vocabulary are not part of your marking criteria. And step number 3 is to use any sort of sentence structure you create at home and you deliver in the exam hall. That means you have your pre-fabricated structure, not template, not illogical sentences, logical sentences with proper connecting words or linking words to help you join between the sentences that you create. It is always better that you use your own structure. Do not use a structure where content is not in focus. That means the structure covers more than 50% of your speech. Never ever use that kind of a structure. Structures are meant to help you transition between one sentence to another in a smoother way, not meant to be part of your content. So any template or structure that you see on the internet which has more than 50% of your time covered, simply avoid it. Use connecting words between the sentences. That is the most important part of the structure. And by doing that, you can create your very own structure. You can now see the structure I prefer using when I take the test, and when I actually took the test, I used this structure. Doesn't mean that you have to. In this structure, I'm starting by saying the lecture was mainly about, and then I'm saying the lecturer focused on how. And then I'm saying, furthermore, he also emphasized on. See, I'm using a connector, furthermore. Then I'm saying, according to the lecturer, my connector. On top of that is my next sentence. He also drew, I'm saying he, but of course, if the lecturer is a female, we will use she. And then I'm giving my concluding statement by saying, in conclusion, he said. It can also be she said. And then I'm delivering my notes and sentences. This is the structure I use. I recommend that you do not use this exact same one. Modify it in the way you feel comfortable. Don't worry about what I said. Remember one thing, no structure or template gives you any sort of score. These just helps you so that you can connect your sentences smoothly and without hesitation. Let's now listen to the first recording for the day and take our notes.
In today's lecture, I'm going to talk about changes in air pollution since the middle of the last century and what has created these changes. So, by the 1950s, air pollution was very visible, with frequent thick black fogs known as smogs in many large cities around the world. The main source of this pollution was from factories, and it caused severe health problems. For example, a particularly severe smog in London in 1952 caused over 4,000 deaths. Obviously, something had to be done. And in 1956, a Clean Air Act was introduced in Britain. This addressed the pollution from factories, and the smog soon disappeared. However, as you know, these days air pollution is still a big issue. The main difference between now and the 1950s is that you can't see it, it's invisible. Also, the main source of pollution now is from cars and lorries, and although these don't produce visible signs, this air pollution is still a significant risk to health. And one of the key factors in the rise of this type of pollution is that we have all become much more vehicle dependent. There are far more cars and lorries, trains and planes than in the 1950s, and this is now the main source of air pollution around the world.
So you can see my notes on the screen. I hope you have taken your notes as well. You can see how I avoided writing full words or sentences. I did not also worry at all about writing anything important. I wrote the first chunk or group of words that I understood, and I did not focus on anything else. And I just wrote that when it was played. I did not worry about what was said in the middle. That allowed me to take notes only of the things that I think should be included in my answer without worrying about missing anything. If you worry about missing anything, that's when you will not be able to pay attention on taking good notes. Right? Now that I have taken notes, let's try to use them to create full sentences. Now, if you can take a look at this screen that I'm sharing with you, you can see that my first note, I just simply say changes in air pollution. I'm not changing anything here, so because I know what structure I'm using and how I can simply use that introductory sentence to begin my answer. Next, I'm saying air pollution used to be visible, which is not the case anymore. I extended my sentence to make it meaningful and sensible, even though I'm not sure whether that was the thing that was exactly said. You can't remember everything, can you? Just don't worry about it when you can't remember it. Make a meaningful sentence. And then I'm saying air pollution caused severe health problems, did the same thing as before, right? I did not do anything extraordinary here. Next one is I'm saying Clean Air Act was introduced to reduce air pollution. Same thing was done. And then I'm saying air pollution is a big issue. Is still a big issue. Again, same thing. And then you can see that my note is vehicle dependency increased, and I'm just saying that one major issue is our increased vehicle dependency. Now that we have created our fully meaningful sentences, let's put the structure that we discussed a moment ago and answer this Retell lecture properly. Now, if you can see the screen that I have put the structures part on the left hand side and the newly created proper sentences on the right hand side. So let's try to now answer this Retell lecture properly. The lecture was mainly about changes in air pollution. The lecturer focused on how air pollution used to be visible, which is not the case anymore. Furthermore, he also emphasized on how air pollution caused severe health problems. According to the lecturer, Clean Air Act was introduced to reduce air pollution. On top of that, he also drew attention to the fact that air pollution is still a very big issue. In conclusion, he said, one major issue is our increased vehicle dependency. You can see that how simply I answered this question. I did not try to use any fancy vocabulary. I did not worry that much about my grammar. All I did was to deliver a fluent speech with right pronunciation and without hesitation and mumbling. Right? I used the content from the question, I made full meaningful sentences, and I used my structure to simply join those sentences to something smooth and fluent. Now, before we end today's video, let's do one more Retell lecture. Let's listen to this lecture and take your notes, and then I will show you my notes as well.
Okay. To help you with your research, I just wanted to give you some tips today on using focus groups. These are groups of people that you get together to find out about their opinions and attitudes, for example, to review a piece of work, or just basically provide some collective input to help you with whatever you're researching. First of all, how large should a focus group be? Well, I would say that an ideal number of participants is around 6 or 7. If it's any bigger, what quite often happens is they break into side conversations and the focus is lost. If it's any smaller, you may not get the range of views that you need to get a really good discussion. Secondly, it's important that you have a moderator for the group who's able to facilitate and guide the discussions. The moderator must ensure that everyone participates and stop anyone dominating. And also, the moderator needs to make sure that the discussions don't go off in the wrong direction. And thirdly, in order to help the group focus on what's required, some basic materials should be used, particularly to kick-start the discussions. This may be in the form of pictures, photos, diagrams, graphs, etc., and will help the group to understand the context of what needs to be discussed.
So, hopefully you have taken your good notes. You can see my notes on the screen. And now, what we will do is, we are going to create our own sentences based on those notes. I hope you have created your own sentences. You can see my sentences, and if I put them into my structure, this will be my answer. The lecture was mainly about tips on using focus group. The lecturer focused on how focus groups help to review a piece of work. Furthermore, he also emphasized on how the ideal number of participants in a focus group is between 6 to 7. According to the lecturer, it is important to have a moderator to help moderate a group. On top of that, he also drew attention to the fact that moderator will ensure that the conversation does not go off to a wrong direction. In conclusion, he said some basic materials need to be provided to start the conversation. So, have you seen my delivery? It is simple, it is without hesitation, it is without mumbling, and with as accurate pronunciation as possible, right? Now, keeping them in mind, if you practice more, you will also be able to achieve this level of fluency. Always remember, step 1, take good notes. And when you take notes, take them in a group of 3, take 5 to 7 groups, and Do not worry about everything in the lecture. Whatever you can remember, take notes of them. Then, after you take notes, make meaningful sentences within the given time, and then deliver by using your own structure with proper fluency and pronunciation. So if you think this video was helpful, please like, share and subscribe, and stay tuned for the next amazing video. If you need help in preparing for your PT exam, contact us in 0188-9982-912 or 0188-9982-909. That's for Bangladesh, and in Australia 0456 446 963. If you want to email us, simply email at info@acept.com.au. Until next time, see you in the next video.